When it comes to massive conglomerations and corporations, Nestle is right up there at the top. They're so big that it's almost impossible to imagine. According to Forbes, they're worth around $280 billion, give or take a few billion. When you think of Nestle, what do you think of? Candy, Nesquik, Nescafe, childhood memories of trick-or-treating and hoping to see all your favorite candy bars in your bag? Or do you think of controversy, boycotts, some serious hate? Any of the above might be pretty accurate. While Nestle has undoubtedly had a far-reaching impact on the shape of the commercial food industry, they're also highly controversial. They're not all candy and sweets, and there's some seriously dark stuff in their past and their present. Welcome to Money.tv, a channel dedicated to entrepreneurs who risked it all to create today's most iconic brands. Let's get started. Nestle's journey began in 1866 when two brothers named Charles and George Page recognized the abundance of fresh milk in Switzerland. Using the experience they had gained in America, they set up a production facility to turn fresh milk into condensed milk. This innovation gave milk a much longer shelf life. Around the same time, a German-born pharmacist named Henry Nestle was working to develop a nutritious product for babies. He created a formula using milk, flour, and sugar. Competition began between the Page Brothers Company, Anglo-Swiss, and Nestle's formula. Eventually, the two companies merged, forming the basis of the Nestle conglomerate we know today. All hasn't been well with Nestle's Nesquik. Despite its success and extensive product line, Nestle has faced numerous controversies and criticisms. One notable case involved Nesquik, Nestle's chocolate milk powder. Way back in the days of 2015, Nestle was on the receiving end of a complaint from the Children's Food Campaign. The complaint was centered around Nesquik and the packaging that advertised it as a great start to the day. The problem: the high sugar content. Nestle UK was ordered to remove a misleading claim about its child-friendly design and Happy Bunny, as the Advertising Standards Authority ruled that the product contained 20.3 grams of sugar, making it a misleading addition to a daily breakfast. Nestle has a huge problem with child labor. In 2015, The Guardian reported on troubling findings. More than 10 years after Nestle issued a promise to end child labor in their supply chain, reports by the Fair Labor Association, commissioned by Nestle, found farms in Ivory Coast were still using child workers by the dozen. Nestle's code of conduct prohibits child labor, but it is not well enforced, with many children labeled as family workers or ignored. The issue was exposed in 2001, and a lawsuit in 2005 involved 3 plaintiffs who testified about human trafficking and forced labor on cocoa plantations. Hershey and Mars were also found sourcing chocolate from plantations that relied on child labor. The Washington Post found child workers as young as 12 working on cocoa farms in 2019. When asked about promises to remove child labor, representatives of all 3 companies refused to make such claims. Nestle has had some serious issues with slavery. In 2016, Nestle went public with some shocking news. They had investigated their supply chains in Thailand and found they were working with suppliers who were involved in modern-day slavery. Slavery in Thailand's seafood industry was widespread, making it impossible for companies to avoid it. Groups like the Freedom Fund praised Nestle's transparency, believing it would positively impact supply chain accountability and worker lives. However, Nestle warned that proposed legislation in Australia that would require companies to disclose their efforts to stop slavery in the supply chain would cost consumers significant money, raising questions about the company's stance on the issue. The Freedom Fund CEO, Nick Grono, praised Nestle's decision to reveal slavery in their business operations. Nestle's water use is highly controversial. In 2018, The Guardian reported on Farron, a 6-year-old boy living in a Six Nations indigenous reserve near Toronto, who suffered from a painful rash due to lack of access to drinking water. The community had no taps, toilets, or showers, and had to travel to a public tap for non-drinking water and buy bottled water. Where does Nestle come into the story? Just a stone's throw from where people live without clean running water. Nestle pumps nearly 100,000 gallons of spring water from the nearby Erin well, a well that sits on Six Nations land. And that's not the only place that has a serious problem with Nestle extracting water for their bottling plants. In 2019, conservationists pointed to the plight of California's Strawberry Creek as indicative of the problems Nestle was causing. Where the area was once made of a series of streams and waterfalls. Many were running dry. The consequence, they said, of Nestlé's siphoning of 45 million gallons out of the ecosystem. Meanwhile, in 2018, Nestlé's water sales brought in around $4.5 billion in North America alone. Nestlé's reliance on palm oil is highly controversial. In 2019, Indonesia was devastated by raging fires. The effects were catastrophic. In addition to the damage done by the flames themselves, millions of children were put at risk of serious complications due to the air pollution. So, what caused them in the first place? Palm oil producers. Nestlé issued a statement voicing their concern and their commitment to making sure their products weren't made with palm oil associated with the fires. That sounds great, but also in 2019, Nestlé was suspended from the Round Table on Sustainable Palm Oil and forbidden from making claims that they used only sustainable palm oil. The organization cited Nestlé's incomplete reporting on their palm oil sourcing, and at the same time, Greenpeace argued that the RSPO was insufficient in preventing the industry from harming endangered species like the orangutan. Nestlé has been fighting baby formula controversies since the 1970s. Infant formula may be a huge part of Nestlé's history, but starting in the 1970s, it became one of their most controversial products. That, says Business Insider, is when Nestlé found itself on the receiving end of accusations that they were specifically targeting mothers in developing countries and selling them a formula that was more expensive and less nutritious than breast milk. At the same time, research was showing a baby's chance of survival increased up to 6 times when breastfed. Nestlé was accused of pushing their formula as a bit of westernization that was absolutely within reach. Even hospitals were accused of working with Nestlé to push their formula, and those same third world mothers began trying to stretch the formula by diluting it, often with contaminated water. The result, millions of babies died. That was decades ago, and here's the shocking thing. According to The Guardian, Nestlé was still being condemned by groups like the Changing Markets Foundation for making misleading claims about its formula in 2018. They highlighted inconsistencies, such as sucrose being included in South Africa's formula, while sucrose-free versions were marketed as healthy in Brazil and Hong Kong, causing a particularly unethical situation. Nestlé had a big pet food lawsuit. In 2014, pet lovers nationwide were horrified when one of the largest pet food brands, Purina, and their Benthol brand, came under fire. According to the Daily Beast, it started with Frank Lucido's German Shepherd. After ending up at the vet with symptoms of poisoning, one of their other dogs died suddenly. Lucido found it wasn't just his dogs. There were hundreds of reviews on Consumer Affairs, stating the same thing had happened over and over again. They estimated the death toll was in the thousands. The incident was linked to an additive called propylene glycol, which is approved by the FDA but not recommended by veterinarians. Nestlé was accused of using moldy grains and introducing mold and mycotoxins into the food, leading to a lawsuit, but ultimately, it was good news for Nestle. The lawsuit was ultimately dismissed by a judge who wasn't happy with the level of expertise he saw in their key witnesses. As consumers, it's essential to be aware of the practices of the companies we support. While Nestlé has brought us some of our favorite treats, it's crucial to consider the darker aspects of their history. We hope you enjoyed today's video, the darkest secrets behind Nestlé. If you found this video eye-opening, be sure to leave a like and comment below on what you loved about our video. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to never miss another great video. Until next time, we look forward to seeing you in our next video. Remember, no dream is too big.